Coming up today, Korea's Prime Minister says the government is going ahead with its controversial plan to issue state-authored standard history textbooks in the nation's middle and high schools. Korea's annual inflation rate hits an 11-month high in October, but it's still unable to breach the 1% mark. Plus, did a bomb bring down a Russian plane over Egypt? The airline thinks so, but Moscow says it's too early to speculate. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Tuesday, the 3rd of November. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story this afternoon, Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn has just confirmed that the government definitely plans to move ahead with its decision to publish a single state-authored history textbook for the nation's middle and high school students. For more, we connect to our Park Ji-won, who's standing by at the National Assembly. Ji-won, this announcement today has come earlier than expected.
Well, that's right, Mark. The Education Ministry was going to confirm the decision on Thursday after collecting public opinion. But observers say the government seems to move the schedule up because of the growing opposition to the decision that only seems to be getting stronger. Well, during his speech, the Prime Minister said the decision was necessary to normalize history education, which he said has been biased. He used some examples from current history textbooks, saying that some of the chapters about North Korea are too lenient on the regime and sometimes wrong. The Prime Minister sought to reassure the public that the new textbook will not contain any descriptions that gloss over South Korea's dictatorial past, saying the nation's mature social sector will not allow that to happen.
And Ji-won, how is Parliament reacting to the news? The opposition has been demanding that the government change its plan. What are they saying now?
Well, that's right, Mark. Lawmakers from the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy have been protesting at the National Assembly since yesterday night, and they were still continuing this morning. The party's floor leader Lee Jong-il said the party had delivered a petition to the Education Ministry with more than 1 million signatures in protest against the government decision. But he said the government hasn't taken it into consideration. That has prompted the party to boycott today's parliamentary session, and the party has vowed to continue its protest. Well, that means a confirmation hearing for the prospective fisheries minister scheduled for today has also been delayed. But the ruling Saenuri Party, which sides with the government on the issue, says the opposition lawmakers should focus on their jobs, and deal with other more pressing issues, such as the deliberations over next year's budget. Well, for now, it's hard to say when or how the standoff between the parties will be resolved, but it looks like that it will continue for quite a while. And we'll have more updates on this in our later newscasts. I'm Park Ji-won, reporting live from the National Assembly in Seoul.
Now, in other news, following Monday's bilateral summit between South Korea and Japan, attention is being drawn to remarks Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe made to local media when he got home. In an interview with Japan's BS Fuji television on Monday, Abe reiterated his stance that Tokyo's wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women was settled in a 1965 treaty that normalized the two countries' bilateral relations. However, he said it was important to further work out the issue so that it won't be an obstacle to Japan's future generations. He admitted it would be difficult for both countries to find a solution that is supported entirely by their respective people, but added that it was possible to find common ground through negotiations. He then said it would be important that South Korea does not raise the issue again if the two sides reach a satisfactory agreement. Some observers in Korea put emphasis on the fact that Abe has shown a positive stance on finding a solution, while others say it's too soon to be overly optimistic. Korea's annual inflation accelerated to its fastest pace in 11 months in October, but concerns about deflation are still proving hard to shake as the figure remains rooted in the 0% range. Hwang Kyo-ahn has this report.
Korea's consumer prices rose 0.9% in October from a year earlier, marking the fastest growth since November last year. Statistics Korea attributes the pickup to a rise in prices of agricultural goods and public utility rates. The agency adds that the core inflation, which excludes volatile oil and agricultural products, was up 2.3% from a year ago. Still, concerns linger over deflationary risks. While the recovery momentum remains weak, inflation hovers in the 0% range, falling far below the central bank's target band of 2.5% to 3.5%. Korea's stronger than expected third quarter growth was also mainly attributed to government spending, which experts say can only be a short-term cure for the ailing economy facing sluggish global demand, especially from China. The export-driven economy saw its outbound shipments plunge by the biggest margin in over 6 years last month, dropping more than 15% from a year ago. Given that, experts add that it's questionable whether such recovery momentum seen in the third quarter could continue on for a time being. Hwang Ji-ae, Arirang News.
Now, Samsung Electronics may miss its sales target this year as the company's smartphone shipments continue to weaken. The Korean tech giant had set its target at 200 trillion Korean won, or some $176 billion US. Local research firm FN Guide projects Samsung to post 200.9 trillion won in sales in 2015, but with cautious optimism. Some analysts say it will be a close call for Samsung this year amid fierce competition, not only from Apple, but also from up-and-coming Chinese manufacturers. The silver lining is that demand for TVs and smartphones tends to spike towards the end of the year. Samsung Electronics was the first Korean company to achieve the 200 trillion won mark in 2012, after racking up over 100 trillion won from its mobile sector alone. Since then, the tech firm has not missed the target, but sales and operating income have been falling due to tepid smartphone sales. Now, Korea's reliance on China for trade has hit a record high. Data from Statistics Korea and the Trade Ministry shows China took 23.2% of Korea's imports and exports in the first 3 quarters of the year. That's up 1.8 percentage points from the same period last year. The accumulated value of exports through September this year was even higher at 25.7%. However, experts say the figures are more reflective of Korea's falling exports to other major trade partners like Japan and the European Union than increased shipments to China. The Russian airline, whose plane crashed over Egypt on Saturday, has insisted a physical impact upon the aircraft is the only explainable cause of the disaster. Russian and Egyptian officials say that until the black box data is analysed, it's too early to speculate, but terrorism is not being ruled out. Son Jong-in has more.
Speaking at a news conference in Moscow on Monday, a senior official at Metrojet, the charter company that operated the doomed Russian plane, said there was no way the crash was caused by pilot error or a technical fault. He said that an external influence was the only reasonable explanation.
The only possible explanation for a breakup of the aircraft in the air could be a certain impact, some mechanical or physical impact.
However, Russia's Federal Aviation Agency dismissed the official's remarks, saying they were not based on facts. The agency took a more prudent attitude, refraining from making any statements until investigators finalized their examination of the plane's recovered black box data. Soon after the crash, a local affiliate of the Islamic State militant group claimed responsibility, but international experts, including Egyptian and Russian officials, dismissed that claim as not credible. Washington's top intelligence official says there's no direct evidence to link the crash to terrorism, but it was too early to conclusively dismiss any theories.
Does ISIS have the ability to shoot down an airliner?
It's unlikely, but I wouldn't rule it out.
Mystery and confusion is likely to prevail until officials gather more information about the flight's data on what exactly happened at the moment the plane crashed. Saturday's crash over the Sinai Peninsula killed all 224 people on board. 손정인, Arirang News.
Now there's more trouble brewing for Volkswagen as US regulators are now saying they have found more models fitted with the emissions rigging software that disgraced the German automaker. And for the first time, Porsche models are also said to be involved. Kwon Jang-ho has the details.
The Environmental Protection Agency says Volkswagen has once again failed in its obligation to comply with the law that protects clean air for all Americans. The agency says it has found more cars with the emissions rigging software that has rocked the German car maker. The new batch of vehicles is equipped with the 3-litre diesel V6 engines, a bigger engine than the ones identified previously. The models involved are the 2014 Volkswagen Touareg, the 2015 Porsche Cayenne, and the 2016 Audi A6 and A7 Quattro, the A8, the A8L, and the Q5. This is the first time Porsche, a brand owned by Volkswagen, has been involved in the scandal. And it could be bad news for Volkswagen new chief executive Matthias Müller, who was previously the head of Porsche and was brought in to deal with the current crisis. Porsche has said it is surprised by the allegations, and Volkswagen has also denied the new claims, saying that the cars had a software function which had not been adequately described to the regulators and that they are looking to clarify the matter. If the allegations are confirmed, though, it could mean more recalls, fines and lawsuits on top of the multi-billion-dollar bill that Volkswagen is already facing. A US House panel conducting a separate investigation into the emissions rigging has called on the automaker to come clean following the latest EPA allegations. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has watched an anti-aircraft shooting exercise by the North Korean People's Army near the state's western front. This is according to Pyongyang's state-run Korean Central News Agency on this Tuesday. Although the specific date of the visit is unknown, experts believe the report comes in response to Seoul-Washington defense talks held Monday, where the two allies reaffirmed their strong stance against North Korea's missile threats. At the shooting range, Kim reportedly called for efforts to further modernize and diversify anti-aircraft guns to boost the country's air defense capabilities. Tensions between the United States and China are on the rise, with both countries escalating a conflict over waters near artificial islands built by China in the South China Sea. The US Navy plans to conduct regular patrols around the islands after China scrambled jets over the area. Connie Kim reports.
The U.S. Navy plans to conduct patrols within 12 nautical miles, or 20 kilometers, of man-made islands in the South China Sea, in a move that's expected to further escalate Washington-Beijing tensions. Reuters reports that a Pentagon official speaking on condition of anonymity said Monday the patrols, which will be carried out about twice a quarter, are to remind China and other countries about the United States' right to freely navigate in the region under international law. 12 nautical miles around a territory is internationally recognized as sovereign territory, but the U.S. does not recognize China's claim to the artificial islands it has built in the area. Last week, an American destroyer sailed within the 12 nautical mile limit of one of Beijing's man-made islands in the most significant challenge yet to China's claim. The Spratlys are a disputed group of more than 750 reefs, islets, atolls, cays, and islands claimed by China and 4 other countries, including Vietnam and the Philippines. The conflicting claims have caused tensions in the region to rise in recent months. Beijing says it'll never allow any country to violate its territorial waters and airspace in the area. In an apparent response to the U.S. challenge, China's Navy is reported to have flown armed fighter jets over the Spratlys on Friday. Photographs of the aircraft were released by the Chinese Navy on Saturday, but it did not elaborate on where the jets were operating from. Retired Chinese General Xu Guangyu said Beijing intended to send a message with the exercises that it's serious about its claims, noting that it's the minimum level of response China should have, or it'll fail the expectation of its people. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
European election observers has criticised Turkey's parliamentary elections, complaining of violence and restrictions on freedom of expression. A spokesperson for the Council of Europe said Sunday's polls, which gave the governing AK party a clear majority, were free but not fair. He said the security environment, arrests of opposition activists and stifling of press freedoms combined to give the AK party a massive advantage. However, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says Turks freely voted for stability and the world must respect the result. Back here in Korea, and local police say the former president of a hospital at the epicenter of the recent MERS outbreak belatedly alerted health authorities to potential cases of the deadly virus. Wrapping up a 4-month investigation, the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency in Suseol District says Song Jae-hoon and other senior officials at the Samsung Medical Center had suspected hundreds of patients had contracted the respiratory disease, but kept it to themselves for up to 1 month. It's believed the decision not to alert the relevant authorities straight away could have exacerbated the outbreak. The hospital earlier denied the accusations. It said it was merely following government orders at the time to only report cases when they were confirmed. The Centers for Disease Control confirmed to the police that the government had no protocol in place at the onset of the outbreak, which ended up infecting 186 people and killing 37. Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Have a great day, and thank you as always for tuning in to our newscasts. Goodbye.